Few game studios can elicit a genuine emotional response the way BioWare can, whether that means losing a dear friend or consummating a long simmering romance. BioWare games leave a lasting impression on players, and of all the Canadian developers' franchises, no other IP has had quite an impact on critics, fans, and the industry like Mass Effect. A sweeping space opera filled with action, political intrigue, and very slow elevators, Mass Effect reset the bar for epic storytelling and gaming and garnered some of the highest review scores in history. BioWare and their parent company Electronic Arts are bound to do another entry in the franchise at some point. Or so that was what most fans thought, but there are a number of reasons why EA would want to shelve this beloved franchise for at least a few years. Here's why EA won't release another Mass Effect game, at least not yet.
Request denied.
Andromeda faux pas. First and foremost, the latest game in the series, Mass Effect Andromeda, did not reach the heights of its predecessors. In fact, it ended up as one of the worst-reviewed games in BioWare's storied history. The title had a long and tortured development process, resulting in a final product that was scattered and unfocused. The plotlines and character arcs were simply not of the same caliber as games of yore, and the less said about the facial animations, the better. Andromeda hurt Mass Effect's good name far more than it helped it. Sales were so weak that BioWare was forced to cancel planned single-player DLC for the game, which the studio itself admitted was frustrating. It should come as no surprise that BioWare officially put the series on ice for the time being. Dawn of a new IP. BioWare is ramping up hard on a new project, Anthem, a shared-world shooter in which players will head out into an untamed wilderness to fight monsters, gain loot, and participate in story missions, very much like Bungie's Destiny. The trailers look beautiful and the combat appears fast and chaotic, exactly what it needs to measure up to its persistent open-world competition. In other words, BioWare has its work cut out for it. Accordingly, the studio has doubled down on the game's development, very likely to the detriment of other projects. Certainly, the success of similar games from other studios like Destiny and Warframe show that there's a lot of money to be made in this style if it's done right. If BioWare can inject their trademark narrative sensibilities into their own action-packed take on the genre, Anthem could be a juggernaut hit. And with all hands on deck, that means very limited resources for other projects, like a new Mass Effect game. Scaling down studios. Video game development can be a cutthroat business. Case in point, the closing of one of BioWare's 3 studios, its Montreal branch, following the bomb that was Mass Effect Andromeda. Down to just its Edmonton and Austin branches, BioWare is likely to focus on the games already in development. Anthem, the MMO Star Wars The Old Republic, and a 4th Dragon Age game. That's already a lot to handle with just 2 teams. Given that both Anthem and The Old Republic require ongoing development even after launch, and that the new Dragon Age may contain live elements as well, there's not a lot left over for any other Mass Effect project for the foreseeable future. Breaking up the team. Mass Effect was the brainchild of Casey Hudson, who had been the director on BioWare's seminal Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. His grand vision for a sweeping science fiction epic with deeply drawn characters was brought to life by writer Drew Karpyshyn. And of course, BioWare itself was led by its founders Ray Muzyka and Greg Zeshik, who turned a minuscule studio into one of the most famous brands in gaming. Suffice to say, the Mass Effect trilogy succeeded due in no small part to its veritable dream team. Unfortunately, a dream team is no longer a dream team when most of that team up and leaves. Ray Muzyka left BioWare and the industry as a whole in 2012. Greg Zeshik also bounced, becoming involved in the craft brewery scene. And Drew Karpyshyn, having already left BioWare in 2012 and then returned in 2015, has now put the studio behind him once again. When Mass Effect moved on without them, we got the misfire that was Andromeda. EA may well choose not to move on the franchise again until another top-notch squad is in place. Sales fails. The Mass Effect games are frequently referenced throughout the industry for any number of factors: strong character writing, dialogue trees, romantic entanglements, and even just space opera in general. Commander Shepard remains one of the medium's most iconic heroes. And yet, between its glowing reputation, stellar reviews, and the massive shadow it casts across the industry, the games were simply never major sales generators. While official numbers have never been released, estimates put Mass Effect 3, arguably the most important game in the entire franchise, at about 6 million lifetime sales, which is quite simply not a huge number compared with the rest of the industry. Electronic Arts is a business. They make business decisions based on spreadsheets, not feelings. At the end of the day, they will greenlight a new project based on earnings potential, not nostalgia. Even at the series' peak, Mass Effect was never a major seller. The landscape is even more cutthroat and expensive today than it was in 2012. More than any other single factor, this probably gives EA pause. A damn good ride. FYI, Mass Effect creator Casey Hudson is now the general manager of BioWare. That means that he won't personally be making any games anymore, the way he made the original Mass Effect trilogy. It also means, however, that he has a lot of influence over the direction of the studio, on what games get made, and on how much love a project will receive. And he loves Mass Effect very much. It's his baby, after all. So while EA may be hesitant to go through a mass relay again, Hudson has a lot of pull too, and if anyone can get another Mass Effect project off the ground, he can. Here's hoping, after all.
You know, for all the we've been through, we've had a damn good ride.